Out of all the webcomics featuring the superhero crossover event Crossoverlord, this is the one you have most likely heard of before. Perhaps you've even seen a review or two of it already. But whatever review you have seen, they all, seemingly without exception, proceed to decimate this comic for its writing, art, plot progression and political takes, and then proceed to stomp on the author for good measure. If you came here for the latter, then you're going to be disappointed. I'm here to review the art, not the artist. But is Lightbringer truly that bad? Well, let's take a look at the complicated answer to that question.
Our titular hero first signed his light up on the world on March 2006 with writing and art by Lewis Lawhall, who under the pseudonym Linkara is known for a review show atop the fourth wall that is mostly about Western superhero comics. As his fame rose over the years, Mr. Lawhawk's early creative outputting that he has disowned ages ago has become a fodder for mean-spirited memes. But we all have to start from somewhere, and it doesn't devalue the critics' opinion as long as they have moved on. Anyway, let us move on to the first issue where... Oh no! I have first to address the artwork that during the first half of the series is... rough. Worst are the eyes, where implementing irises when pupils are blank white makes them seem odd. Also such things as wonky perspective and lumpy humans don't add to the appeal. It thankfully gets better from issue number 8 onwards, where shrinking their heads make people look closer to humans. I mean, it's not the best, but tolerable enough. By the way, don't let those artist credits fool you, for neither Ted Sage nor Fred Goldart exist. It's still Mr. Lawhawk who didn't want to solely credit himself for everything.
What is this nonsense? Back when I was writing and drawing my cringy superhero comic Energy Core of Power, I proudly credited myself for all of it. I mean, I couldn't let people believe that I suck at only one thing.
Our main character is Carter Granholm, a humble furniture store owner living in Pharos City, where crime is rampant on the streets thanks to the ill-reputed organization the Slavers! Yes, the Slavers. I'll get to the idiocy of that in a moment. Graham, however, has somehow developed powers to manipulate light, but his dead parents always preach about the virtues of absolute pacifism, so he is unwilling to do anything. However, one night he flees from a robbery situation like a coward and is filled with immense guilt afterwards, finally deciding his parents are wrong, and so one has to step up to make Pharos City a worthy place to live again, thus giving birth to the world's first superhero, Lightbringer!
The first 3 issues deal with our hero bringing down the slavers, which isn't as engaging as it may sound. First, there's the problem of, well, the slavers. They're so transparently wild that they could have been easily brought down by government-scale law enforcement ages ago. Thankfully, they don't appear that much after this, but their existence highlights how ill quality the social analysis is in the comics' early years.
Perhaps the most infamous example is in issue number 3, where Lightbringer enters the slaver headquarters in order to find their leader, General Veres, and to his shock he finds out that Veres has used the money from his criminal empire to charities and keeping up the city's infrastructure. Right after that he finds the body of a woman Veres did unimaginable things to in order to ram the point home. Veres then comes in and starts an excruciatingly long and rambling monologue about is good and evil subjective, and in the right hands this could be a compelling philosophical debate. In this case though it falls flat to its face because of how comically over the top evil Veres' actions have been. Who in their right mind would argue he doesn't deserve to get his ass kicked at this point? Also, I'm sure that there are better and less risky ways to fund worthy causes than with human trafficking, but I guess charity streams weren't a thing yet. Nevertheless, whatever the subject, especially Lightbringer's inner monologues are unnecessarily stretched and stopped to describe even the most simple of actions in detail, leaving no room for readers to try to put things together on their own. For example, this action scene.
This is insane. I keep asking myself the same question over and over again, and I still can't get an answer. Who is this guy? I block his second attack, but not easily. Whatever energy he's throwing at me, it's eating away at the light shields I bring up and tearing them apart. I return fire.
This is from the fourth issue that introduces Lightbringer's first supervillain opponent, the Smiling Man, who is also the main antagonist in Crossoverlord. In his source comic, he's just mysterious and gathers weird gizmos and that's it. His personality is properly developed in the crossover event, to my knowledge, mostly by other writers, and even then they couldn't decide what's the extent of his powers. God, he's still going. Never before have I seen a superhero this in love with their voice.
The rest of Lightbringer's group collection is pretty much cliché city. There's the Russell Gould wanna be the gentleman. At least if Russell Gould was Jack the Ripper and believed prostitution is the purest example of society's depravity. Later a Catwoman copycat Scarlet Baroness appears to bring similar kind of sexual tension her DC counterpart has with Batman, and a bunch of one-note vigilantes who think John Warren's getting a life in prison would be too merciful. Well, the vigilantes are winners of a fan design contest, which is a neat little way to involve community. But they all pale in comparison to the most recurring foe Darkbringer, who is utterly broken as a concept. He used to be a petty thief who worships darkness and, get this, his attempt to make a villain that rationalizes why evil is better than good.
It is truly evil to believe that hope prevails, that light overtakes dark, that you need to embrace love and joy and happiness.
No, not you two! Shut up! Basically, his diba-dabba-dabba amounts to a pessimist never gets disappointed. But, counter-argument. A pessimist can never feel satisfaction for being right. What comes to the supporting cast though, they're marginally better.
First there's Police Chief Eddie Crane, who is just James Gordon from Batman, so moving on. Carter has some regular employees like Michelle Allott, who has hots for his alter ego, that's a classic, and Gary Manning, who... what was his deal anyway? I don't think he ever had any plot significance. However, the most important and the best character in the whole series is the most recent recruit Hannah Menz, who very quickly figures out her boss's secret identity, who then proceeds to enlist her to be his mission operator. Despite her young age, she is strong-willed and has loads of wisdom/common sense that she uses to bring Lightbringer down a peg during his self-righteous or whiny moments, cementing it in issue number 8, Watch Sum Aeris, that also introduced the art style upgrade and generally ended the comic's utter trash era. And just to confirm, Hannah was also the assault victim in the beginning Carter ran bravely away from, but she can kick butt and was merely doing a social experiment. She's quirky like that.
Some have argued that the quality improvements the webcomic went through at the midpoint of its run made it actually worse because it stopped being funny bad and instead became boringly mediocre. I appreciate good craftsmanship, so I'll always choose this over the issues 1 to 7, but even though I'm not a comic nerd, I'm able to recognize its conventions and cliches. Still, there's at least one issue that is actually kind of genius. That is issue number 14, Wanted.
For a while it has been hinted that the upper crust of Pharos doesn't appreciate Lightbringer's brand of vigilance justice, and culminates here where Mayor Hafferty declares an ultimatum. Give up superheroing or face justice. And yes, the artist did indeed change in the middle of issue number 13 to Chad Rocco, who makes characters more stylized than ever, but the good usage of shading and vibrant colors complement them. Anyway, Hafferty is perhaps the most compelling antagonist in the series, as she can be seen as the personification of its hate-dom, always assuming the worst of his character and thinking a man with his powers could possibly at some point want to abuse them to make everyone bow before him. To be fair, she isn't entirely without cause, and it's refreshing to see that Lightbringer's self-righteous behavior has consequences. Even Hannah, who in the previous issue went full-on superheroing with the moniker Osprey, gets her own share due to the endangering a minor clause, even if she's already 18 at this point but can't prove it without compromising her identity. In general, this issue presents a clever deconstruction of the asinine writing from the comic's first half and a potentially intriguing new storyline. But alas, it was too little too late. At this point, Atop the Fourth Wall had been on full swing for a while, which affected the schedules, issue number 15 taking 2 years to complete and had another artist change to Sergio Aragonio III, and besides the review show had its own storyline that fulfilled the writer's creative needs. This issue would indeed be the last one, as in September 2012, Lightbringer ended after a 6-year run.
To its credit, the conclusion, while leaving several plot threads dangling, is somewhat emotionally satisfying. Unlike with Energy Core of Power, where the bad guys technically won. I mean, at that point, the so-called bad guys were already better heroes than themselves, so might as well. But the answer to the question that I asked in the beginning, well, yes to the first 7 issues, and unenthusiastic, no, not really to the rest of them.
The comic starts poorly plotted, poorly drawn, infuriatingly wordy and annoyingly preachy that doesn't even build its arguments on steady grounds. It however does mature after its rough start with a refreshing look at the title hero's character from someone else's point of view, and the series is at its best when it dissects Carter Granholm's failings as a person, and sometimes even when analyzing what's good about him can get decently compelling. However, even on its better half, the comic cannot escape from cliched conventions of its genre, and admittedly that's always a danger with these kinds of sincere homages, but it's often not well written enough to be anything more than, I've seen worse. Overall, you won't lose much if you skip it, and even if you're a die-hard Linkara fan, you're much better off with the storylines he once in a while puts in his reviews, not to mention the feature-length Out of the Fourth Wall the movie, that are pompous superhero melodrama that are aware of that fact and have fun with it.
The continuation of the comic is in your hands actually, because soon after officially cancelling it, Louis Lovecock declared Lightbringer to be public domain. So yes, anyone can write about it and get money out of it if you so desire. At least one person has taken up on that offer, namely his fellow internet reviewer Elizabeth Scottshill, or better known as Iron Liz, who Indiegogoed the first issue about a year ago. Though I have no idea of its overall story or how it was critically appreciated. Public domain. Well, I guess we'll just wait for the obligatory, cheaply made Lightbringer slasher flick to come out. He will bring light and death.